Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the first of a two-parter for Miles Morales' Spider-Man, and for this multiverse madness going on here. So the film picks up where the last one left off. This film is about Miles learning a bit more about what he learns in the original. When I say a bit more, I mean like it's in the title. He's going different places. And the animation speaks for itself. Give the Oscar to this animation team. Like right now. Do it right now. There is no way that they are topping this. There's just no way that they're going to top that. In terms of animation, visuals, and all that, just give it to them. Like, what else is going to defeat that? Nothing I can think of that's coming out in animation is going to beat that. And it's crazy when you think of the budget for this film. It's 100 million US dollars, which is a lot of money. However, Disney's Elemental, which looks half decent, has 200 million. Like, what are you thinking? How does a film that has half the budget look so much better? In terms of using different animation styles, in terms of using, like, they have to render, I'd say, at least 500 different characters in this film. That's not just like little drawings, that's like detailed character designs with intricate looks and everything. And this is only 100 million. Like, Disney are taking a back seat. But besides the animation, we're here for Miles, Gwen, and the characters we loved from the first film. And they're all still stealing the show here. Especially Gwen and Miles have the best kind of storylines going on here. In a way, Miles is as important as Gwen is in this one, or you could say vice versa. Gwen in this one has a lot of the emotional beats of the thing, but I wouldn't quite say she's the heart of it. She is as important as Miles is in this film, and Haley Steinfeld portrays that really well. You can tell that she's really passionate about this character. And then you have Shameik Moore's Miles Morales, who you could tell he was pumped to get back in that studio and really wanted to just go all in. And that's exactly what he does here. Brian Tyree Henry plays Miles' dad, and he is still stealing the scenes as the father. You could tell that's where a lot of the film's charm is at, with him and his father. And there's a twist, I won't spoil what it is or why it's there, but it makes the father a hell of a lot more important going forward. So for anyone thinking that, oh, we're just watching another soap opera, no, there's a reason why the father's there. And then you have Daniel Aculia as Spider-Punk, which was a funny addition. He provides a lot of laughs, but he wouldn't be like the main one getting the laughs. Can't remember the guy that gave us the laughs. However, it was one of the other characters. I'm bad at remembering the names because there's so many people in this thing. But one of them stole the show every time, which I was not expecting. Pierre B. Parker stole the show when he was on screen, especially with his little, as we see in the trailer, his little kind of new daughter that he's got with Mary Jane. The duo there is very funny as well. The film's positives first. The film has a great animation style, a great story for a two-parter, and has a great foil and conflict going on about if the first film was anyone can wear the mask, this one, and I imagine the latter film that's going to come out next year, are going to be about, they're probably going to be about this one definitely was about what do you do when you have that mask? What, like, anyone can wear it, but not everyone can handle the pressure it takes on your life. And it's all about choice. Do you choose to keep it or do you choose to get rid of it? And this film explores that theme very well. It's very kind of front and center from even the start, about how Miles needs to be able to, say, connect with his parents and be available to them, but also he needs to be Spider-Man, and so that's a typical Spider-Man conflict. But also the other interesting thing about Miles in this film is that Miles feels as if he's beginning to get a bit tired of it. But he's acknowledging that. The film's best moments are the moments where Miles, Oscar Isaac's Spider-Man 2099 are on screen, and Gwen are on screen. They're the best moments in the film because they carry the most conflict. Spider-Man 2099 is all about order, and he is, like, the best way of describing why he's there is he's like the gatekeeper of it all. He's the one wanting to make sure everything's in order. And his whole ordeal with Miles is that Miles is causing, for lack of a better term, a bit of chaos that he's had to clean up. So again, without spoiling anything, that's Spider-Man 2099's reason there. All this information, you could probably find it in the trailer. You can definitely find the Spider-Man 2099 bit there. And the film isn't directly made for kids necessarily. It's more kind of made for, say, adults or teens with kids in mind. It's not trying to be a kids movie. It's trying to be a movie that can be enjoyed by everyone. But carries, say, adult themes or themes that might relate a bit better to teens or people in and around that age group about choice, responsibility. These are typical Spider-Man tropes, but this is the first one to kind of take what Spider-Verse did so well into Spider-Verse did so well and really kind of ask that question over and over about what is our target audience. And if the first one was alluding to adults and choice and loss, then this one is just as good for its target audience. Again, it can be entertaining as a kids movie. It's definitely not shying away from that, but it is as core a film that deals with adult topics, and even teen topics. Also, the film doesn't really have many negatives. So the big positives are all of the cast are really great here, especially Shamik Moore and Haley Steinfeld and Oscar Isaac. They're all really good. But I have a few mixed things with the film. First thing being, it is a bit too long. There's a point in the film where I think, oh, here would be a good place to end it. And they keep going. And they do this for about another 20 minutes. I guess to the point where you're like, are they going to end it? Oh, they just end it there. Okay. Yeah, you could have probably cut 20 minutes out of this film. Or trimmed a few sequences down. And the animation, you see, it feels like they get to a certain point and they're like, let's just do the animation that we like doing, which is fine. I'm not putting that against it. However, the film doesn't like explain as to why it doesn't just end here. Like, I get you have to build up for part two but there are certain scenes in this latter half that feel like they should be concluding themselves. Um, Now, obviously, I'm not a creative behind this film. I do not know what their mindset was. All I'm saying is what I saw in what screen I saw it in. And what's interesting is that the film, for it to really get going, it's when that Spyverse starts happening. However, the film before that is still entertaining. It's still a very good movie, but the film only elevates itself once it gets to the Spyverse stuff. And like, not even just animation wise, the film has this kind of almost noir look a bit of it to it. I don't know if that's just me. Um, but the film's twists, of which I'm not going to spoil because why would I do that? Why would I do that on this channel? Um, the film's biggest kind of downfall for me was the fact that it went on for so long. But that's more mixed. Like, I don't know if other people, or even if I see it the second time, they'll feel that way about it. But for when I'm reviewing this, that's what I thought was the case. Into the Spider-Verse had a perfectly paced story, right amount of time. It concluded itself nice and quickly. However, this one feels like it's just adding a bit too much on. A bit too much more than they can chew. But besides that, like, the film is astonishing. The graphics, the animation, the vocal performances done by the actors, the sound team behind this, the soundtrack, the directions going, and all these elements that are combining to make this movie feel earned. The first film paved the way, gave us little ideas about the multiverse. This is what last year's Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness probably should have looked like. Not, we'll just go to one place or a few places and have a few sequences there. No, once the film gets going, it gets going. And they have to render, I'd easily say, over 500 Spider-Man and variants. And the web slinging in this, from an animation point of view, would be a nightmare. But they pull it off anyways. I would like to know how they did that and what was like motivating them to go this far. In terms of animation, color grading, 3D rendering, and also there's a nice character in here. Well, not nice necessarily, who's going to be very important later on in the grand scheme of things in part 2. Again, if you know, you know. And the film's main villain is Spider-Man 2099. Now, he's in the trailer, and he is very much the villain here. But you know where he's coming from. Like I said, he's a ruler. And just so happened that Miles has maybe disrupted the status quo. Oscar Isaac is very convincing as Miguel, who's the Spider-Man 2099 Peter Parker, essentially. And you get why he's so restricted on Miles. And you get that, but you also get this feeling that this guy really needs to let a grip for a second, let go of so much. Like, you can feel this guy's holding on to nearly everything. And the film's writing doesn't ask you to take his side or to even, like, doesn't ask you to take a side. It also doesn't ask you to look at him as the worst human being possible. He is not the worst human being possible. He's just put in this really difficult situation where he has to make some really difficult choices, and we won't agree with all the choices he makes. That's just how his character rolls. He's aware of others as well. So it's like it's just him making decisions. He has assistance from nearly everyone about what he thinks he should do. But let's talk about Gwen for a moment. Gwen has her own plotline going on, and it's just as important as Miles. Gwen has this thing going on with her emotions that we kind of see in the start. It's a nice little short story. It's like the opening from Up in a way. It tells us a nice little short story. And then we get to the actual film. Now, the film has done its work getting to this point. But before it got to this point, the film hadn't started. So for it to start, that could be a bit jarring to a few people. But give it a chance. It sets up Gwen's character perfectly for what she's about to do throughout the film, and you really get her point of view. And the film really kind of throws in all of the big things there. The film isn't shy about going into themes of loss or themes of, I could do both. Themes of choice, even. That seems to be the biggest thing here, is choice. These characters didn't ask for this life, but they chose to keep leading it. And that's Miles' biggest thing. That's Gwen's biggest thing as well. That's everyone here's biggest thing. That's the biggest question, choice. Why did I choose this over that? Or why did I choose this over that? Some choices you don't get to make. Some choices are up to other people. And those choices have consequences throughout the whole thing. They have consequences, and they have consequences for our main characters. Again, trying not to spoil it for you, because this film deserves to be seen on the big screen. I hope it makes more money than a lot of Disney films at the moment, or really, I hope it makes as much money as I want it to make. And I hope that the creatives get another Oscar nomination for this film. Overall, does it deserve to be as highly panned as critics and audiences have given it? Yes, it does. But the biggest thing is it's going to stop because of part one. And that will be jarring to a lot of audience members. And it wasn't jarring to me because I knew that information going in. But for people to think, oh, this will have its own story, it won't. The film won't wrap up quite as nicely as you might think it would. It wraps up a few plot threads, and then just kind of, Thanos snapping his fingers, just kind of stops. But besides that, the film is a masterclass in animation and how it's used as a format to tell stories in that could only be told in animation. Maybe Sony should teach Disney a bit of a lesson with this, as I can't imagine what a remake would do with this sort of material, because you really couldn't do it. So I'd probably give the film, I'd give it a must-see if you're in any way interested in animation or even just film. Even your average Joe who probably has no interest in film or at all should probably go see this, because it's really entertaining. And even if you haven't seen the first one, you don't need to have seen that. You will benefit greatly, but you don't need to. It's not a necessity. And you'll probably still get behind these characters the same way. But also, the film's just a really good time in the cinemas. These are the type of films, 2023 so far has been quite a good year for films in terms of quality. John Wick 4, Sisu, what was it? This film now, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, The Whale. The Whale was 2022, but wasn't released here until 2023. So there's been quite a good run of films that are big budget, and we have a few more coming out now. But this film is a testament to animation. It's a must-see in my book. I think if you're a Spider-Man fan, you definitely have to see it. And I think it's worth shelling out a bit more money for, say, premium formats, because this film deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible. That doesn't mean that say you will, because I can't say that to you. That wouldn't be fair. But if you can it will pay off very well. No pun intended. But besides that, I'm hoping to see the Boogeyman when I can. I'll put my review up if I even get to that. That's a bit of my priority this week was getting Sisu and Across the Spider-Verse out. So the Boogeyman might have to wait. And then a lot of you are probably wanting to know what my opinions on Transformers is. I will try and get to that, but it'll probably be a bit of a while. But yeah, this was my priority this week, seeing this film and getting my review out to you guys. This video's gone way longer than I expected it to. So to wrap things up, Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse is a really good animated film that deserves its high rating. Just be warned that there is a jarring end going in. But besides that, the film is perfectly paced. The action is just as good as it's ever been. The animation looks astonishing. Out of 10, probably give the film a solid 9.5. Again, that ending, it really is quite jarring when it gets to that point. I also say the film's length plays into that, but besides that, go see it. This is my channel. Over and out. Subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, that's my review for Across the Spider-Verse.